Trust the profits. It's a formula here, and we're talking about Tiztastic for another installment of our 2025 Kentucky Derby Spotlight. And Tiztastic, yeah. What can you say about Tiztastic? Obviously, the name rings a bell here. Sire being Tiz the Law and Tiztastic. Let's dive into some of the dossier there on our boy Tiz. So Steve Asmussen, the trainer. Um, Joel Rosario is the jockey. This has been a bit of a carousel in terms of jockeys for Tiztastic, but last rider was Joel Rosario. It's one mount for him out of 8 rides for Tiztastic. Sire Tiz the Law, 3 wins in 8 races, scattered wins. Got a maiden win. He's got a win at Kentucky Downs, and then he's obviously got the big one at Louisiana Derby. His style closer, I thought about going deep closer here, but he does set a little bit more forwardly placed than some of the horses that we're referring to as deep closers. My cutoff here has been about 10 lengths off the pace and more for deep closers, 10 lengths off the pace for about the 2 to 4 furlong region. Usually sits a little bit closer than that, maybe like 8 lengths, sometimes a little bit closer, but usually like that 7 to 8 lengths range. So that's how I get the classification on him here for those who are interested. Um, yeah, so that's the dirt on Tiztastic. Now, what are the pros and cons here? What do I like and not like about the horse here? So best win with pace comp to Kentucky Derby. I've got a whole complicated mess of spreadsheets here to show you how I came up with that conclusion. It's debatable, obviously. This is obviously one man's opinion, but um, looking back at the major Derby prep races, so the 9 furlong races, your Santa Anitas, your Louisianas, your Arkansas Derbies, right? Not looking back to the Rebel or Southwest or any of those or Smarty Jones, but looking at the big 9 furlong ones, I think the pace sets up close to what the pace is going to look like start to finish in previous derbies. And also, I like the Louisiana Derby. Winner of the Louisiana Derby often does well. We've got Epicenter as an example, Hot Rod Charlie, and I'm talking mainly about recent years when it bumped up to 9.5 furlongs, right? So I like the horses that do come out of that. I know it's not 100% success, and right, we haven't had someone win the Louisiana Derby and go on to win the Kentucky Derby, but I still think that it is one of the better prep races based on what we've seen recently. Responded well to Joel Rosario. Yeah. Obviously, you get a win like that, and I'll show you a snippet of a replay for Louisiana Derby where Joel rode him on to victory. And then going up to my second point there, style suits the Derby with lots of speed. We've been hitting on this a number of times here. Trust the profits, at least in our opinion, and I think general opinion follows this as well, especially with the inclusion of Owen Almighty. You've got 3 Baffert horses. Baffert horses are very speed heavy, and it's shown in their races, right? Modicat Road, Pace Setter, Rodriguez went gate to wire in his last race. Citizen Bull went gate to wire in BC Juvenile, right? These are pace horses, and on top of that, we've got East Avenue, who was burning it up last time out. So we know that if he gets out of the gate properly, he's going to be a likely pace setter or competing on the pace. So we think that it's going to be a hot one, pace wise, and that's going to set up well for a lot of the closers and even some of the stalkers coming up in the Derby here. So Tiztastic, Tiztastic. It's going to set up well for him. So what are some of the cons? And this is a common one for a lot of closers, and we'll see it in a video here for Tiztastic, the good and the bad. It doesn't always get a smooth ride and needs to work on traffic, right? So if you're coming from the back, you're going to have horses in front of you, and a lot of them are going to move left to right, stay in their lane. They might stop a little bit and box you in. It's going to make it difficult for him to get up and get that clear ride, like we saw with the final gambit video that I did a couple days ago. Jockey Carousel. So we saw Joel Rosario ride him, but it's only a second time riding him. He's gone through a number of different jockeys, including Tyler Gaffleone, Christian Torres, Jose Ortiz. So yeah, no one has really settled on him and gotten a number of rides and felt comfortable with him yet. Got to think that Joel's probably got the best crack of anyone, but I wanted to call it out here. Lots of deep closers, so you have to ask, what makes him different from the others? Is he the best one? Are there others out there that are going to have a better final kick down the stretch? And then finally, 8 races, only 3 wins in those 8 races. Some of these horses are putting up way more impressive win numbers, right? And one of those wins was at Kentucky Downs, which is an oddball track, as we all know. Anyone who's played Kentucky Downs knows that feeling, right? So let's dive into my first con here. Doesn't always get a smooth ride. I'm going to start with, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to start with the bad here first. I'm going to start with the Rebel. We'll look at a quick replay here as I hit play. So the 13 horse here, you can see if you look at the top level, you see the 1 horse there, the 7 is giving him pressure. Right behind him is the 13. That is Tiztastic. So they're coming up here on the half mile pretty shortly. Yeah, I probably could have fast forwarded this a little bit here. On that back stretch there, you can see the ones coming up close here. There's Tiztastic. So Tiztastic is riding the rail. You'll notice he likes to take that rail, at least in the last 2 races. He tries to sneak through there. He's right in the middle now. I don't know if you can see. Let's see. Yeah, so he should be like right. Whoops. Cancel that. Discard changes. Yeah, I thought I was able to draw on the screen there. So he's coming through. He's getting boxed in a little bit here. He's right behind the 9, right next to the 8. And he gets a little bit checked up here. So he's going to have to bounce through past the 8, expending a lot of energy. Meanwhile, everyone on the outside is getting a cleaner ride coming through. So Tiztastic is still going to pop through here, but it's not going to be his best race. So Cole Battle's going to come out glorious here. That rail ride didn't do much for Tiztastic. He's closing in there. He's getting it, but obviously not the ride that he preferred there. Expending a lot on the rail, getting bounced around a little bit, not getting the clean setup that he hoped for. So I'm going to stop sharing here. I tried to do this once before and it didn't work out well. Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, I'm going to have to remove this. Start sharing again. There we go. Okay, now we're going to bounce to something better. Louisiana Stakes, you're going to see similar effect here. So he is, yeah, there we go. So he's the number 3 horse here. He's starting to make his move. Hard to see through the trees. Thank you for those beautiful pines. So he's in that back stretch here with the 3 horses. He's starting to make his move up. We've got two major separations here because the pace was so hot. Everyone in front had so much space. He's making his move up the rail here, starting to come up on those slower horses. He's going to stick to the rail now and go past those oaks, those trees, sticking to the rail. He's finding a gap. It opens up for him, which didn't happen at the Rebel. So he's going on to pass the next wave, and it's still open for him here. He's going to get boxed in. He's got a lane to go through, and then he pops out wide and gets into that 3rd lane, maybe about a 4th lane. Now he's on the outside. He's got a clear stretch of road here. He's going to give maybe a little bit of bump to, I think that's Chunk of Gold, maybe. Oh, there it is. Yep. Just a little bit of a nudge saying it's mine. And now he's off. So he stretches it out here. Instant replay way back here has a really nice close. Instant replay looks strong. But Tiztastic is going to close it out here, maybe another half furlong, and instant replay catches up to him. But you see how he got a lot of space there. He got the room that he needed in order to go on the rail and then pop out and around. He didn't get that at the Rebel. And then the question is going to be, if he tries to do that same thing, if he tries to hug the rail and pop out, is he going to get a lane to change in at the Kentucky Derby? So that's really the big question for me for Tiztastic. So pace makes the race. Oh boy. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of an eye chart here, but try to follow along if you can. So on top here, I'm cutting down the pace from 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 furlongs for the Kentucky Derby from 2014 to 2024 and averaging them out and then averaging the splits in between. And down below, I've got Arkansas, Louisiana, Bluegrass, Santa Anita, Florida, and Wood. And I really want to draw your attention to the right. So looking at the splits going from 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, and then 8 to 10, comparing these across. So Arkansas Derby was hot early on. So from 2 to 4, from 0 to 2 and 2 to 4, it was smoking. 45-second 4 furlong. But then after that, it slowed down a bit. If you're looking at the Kentucky Derby, the average is 23.61, 24.70, and then 25.63. Moving down to the Louisiana Derby, 23.85, 24.19, and 25.44. Those are the closest splits that I see in terms of having early speed from 2 to 4 and then having a little bit of that mid speed from 4 to 6 and 6 to 8. That to me is the best comp. So in terms of looking at Louisiana Derby, that to me is the best comparison for then looking at the Kentucky Derby and saying this race is going to be similar in pace. So someone like Tiztastic, maybe even Chunk of Gold, who came in second place there, had, I would say, the most similar circumstances. Obviously, we're adding more horses and we're adding another half furlong, but that one comps close. The other ones, so I went through Arkansas Derby, that went hot early on, but then it cooled off a bit. Looking at the Bluegrass, not as hot early on, but fairly similar. So 22.95, 46.95, but then it slowed down a bit. Now you're getting into 25-second and almost 26-second when you get down to 6 to 8 furlong. The Santa Anita started off, that was interesting. It had a really fast 2 furlong, and then it slowed down quite a bit going into 4 furlongs, and then it sped up a little bit more. So what you're seeing is the horses that got out in front early um, at the Santa Anita really burned it out. And I think what you're seeing after that is when journalism took over and started passing everybody and showing who's boss. So a bit of a weird roller coaster of pace structure there. And then in the other races, the Florida Derby and the Wood, starting off a little bit slower, in my opinion, when you compare to the Kentucky Derby, mainly because they're getting in the 47-second range on that 4 furlong, and then you're seeing more late speed. One of the things I talked about in my previous video with regards to Rodriguez is how much late speed he had for being a gate to slow at the beginning, and then you see it here down below. If you look at the Wood, the 2 green, 23.81, 24.43. I was really impressed with that, the late speed that he had, considering he was the pace setter, but he also set up a little bit of a slower pace that really didn't get challenged. Captain Cook got up there and tried to challenge him, but it didn't materialize into anything outstanding, right? So that's what I mean by Louisiana Derby sets up, I think, most similar in pace structure to the Kentucky Derby. So final thoughts. I think the early speed does favor his style, but there are a lot of closers out there, and you add on more horses. My big concern with Tistastic, and I really do like the horse. I'm considering him in my top 4 here, but one of my major concerns is going to be negotiating that traffic. Was the difference in Louisiana Derby having Joel Rosario, a horse, a a top tier jockey that might be able to figure out the traffic, might be able to foresee where those lanes are going to be? Or did he just get lucky because the pace was so strong? It created that separation for him to have less horses to move around in, and it just set up perfectly for Tistastic. So that's the big question mark for me on that horse. Otherwise, I really like him. I think the bloodlines are there. I think the speed sets up properly. I think he's got a really strong close. I if he can get an opening, if he can find that rail, if he can move around like Rich Strike did, I think it could be his day. But there's definitely some question marks around him for that. So, all right, thank you for joining. One more one more Derby spotlight here. It is Tiztastic. I almost said Tiz the Tastic again, going back to Tiz the Law. But hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what you think in the comments, and have a lovely Friday.